bonus damages before you have any attack upgrades. And so really you're going to get to the point where just a single control group of Gargs, only 24 food, is going to one-shot a Dryad. And, Dryads don't do as much damage as Gargoyles do. They don't have armor like Gargoyles do. They don't fly like Gargs do. Gargs can stack up and just one volley or something. Dryads have to all get in range and all this crap, and it's not going to happen. And so you can run in there, kill something with one volley, coil whatever took shots, and then get it out of there. Slow poison's going to slow it, but when you've got maybe a level 2 Unholy Aura, it's really not that big of a bane, and you're not going to get enough Dryads in range to finish off the unit. Even if poison is stacking and doing damage output, it won't matter. So we see here that, Czech is just power creeping. This is very intelligent play from Czech. He's got the skeletons in front, the panda. He's drawing the creeps out of the camp so that they're easy to kill. His army's not stuck against some trees or something. He's, really, it's very hard to press on that elf army. And really, you just notice how how Susiri is playing this. Is he went for the expansion, and I probably should have mentioned that a minute and a half ago when he started it. But this is the entire way to beat this play style: is your opponent, won't have anything but archers for a while, just because there's a lumber, cost involved. There's a gold cost involved. Yeah, it's easy to expand, but it does make a difference on your unit count. It just does. And really the main thing is the Lich and the Rod. And this is what's going to happen here. He's got, 3 charges still, and the ghouls come in, and this is what it's all going to be about. He's got to, he keeps the ghoul alive, and he's really just trying to abuse the fact that he's got this tower here, and now that he's got the units, have their focus change, he's going to go for it. And he's going to lose some Gargs, they're going to get focused down, but he's trying to get the ghouls in range. He leads with the Gargs, because yes, they die faster, but the ghouls are more important. It's sort of like, well, who's going to tank? And really you don't want the ghouls to tank, because despite the fact that, yes, they would take more damage before they died, they are doing much more damage, and it's just, it's the better of two shit scenarios. So the ghouls have died for the most part. He's pulled them back once more, but really, he's trying to pick off units because he's trying to spam skeletons. And you can see that he's going to come in here, and he's going to pick off a couple skellies, and he's going to go right away for the Dryads. And you can see that, yes, a Garg gets focused down and it takes some damage, but he's forcing these units back, because suddenly the skeletons are swarming, suddenly the ghouls are swarming. There's the focus down on a Dryad, that one goes down. His units get hit, another Garg gets slowed and focused down, but again, he has 5 Gargs there and power. The Dryad's on about half HP, one volley of attacks, right? It's about 150 damage if they just average, and it's, it only takes 3 of those to kill the Dryad off. And yeah, it adds up very quickly. You can see he has to pull back again. Haze Fire is kicking his ass. But, his opponent is out of archers. He's just out. And now it's just pure Dryad versus Garg spam. And guess what? Czech, I believe, only has those 2 lores. Yep, he didn't get a 3rd lore because there's no lumber for it. You might have a lot of gold, but Dryads cost so much wood. I mean, you're just going to have so much of a gold train getting enough wisps for it that it's still not going to matter. So, it's very difficult to accurately or effectively spam Dryads with an expansion right away. So yeah, he's playing, 2 crypt versus 2 lore, and you notice that he does have a food disadvantage, but a lot of that food of Czech is wisps. I mean, right now there's a couple spare acolytes on the gold mine, and 2 ghouls chopping wood. The rest of his food is actual army. You compare that to Czech, and he's probably got maybe 20 wisps total between gold and wood. And, Dryads cost 3 food while Gargs cost 2, and so he's actually, even if they had equal food and equal workers, he'd still have less units because of food count. So you shouldn't always read food count as an advantage in this matchup, just because of Dryads costing 3 food. But you can see here that, yes, he's losing Gargs, but so what? He's picking off Dryads. And as amazing as a high-level panda is, the panda's out of mana, so it doesn't really matter. You can just walk over everything. Your move speed is higher, you can do what you want. You just can. And, there's the coil keeping the units alive, and that's another big part of the matchup is, when they do start focusing your stuff down in small unit battles, you can overwhelm them. And this is, part of the reason why Undead needs to play so aggressively, is if you let the game go to late game, you've got like a level 5 panda in there, you've got Haze Fire affecting everything, Nova doesn't hit Dryads, coil only hits 1 unit at a time, and yeah, you can go for a hero, but it's only so much damage output. But, in small battles where everyone's got like 40 food, coil plays a huge role. Saving 1 Garg is like, oh, wow, I can't kill that Garg. And Unholy Aura, you pull back that 1 Garg with the move speed, and it makes a big difference. And so, this is really where Undead shines with these small unit battles. And you can just see how quickly he overwhelms his opponent because of his mobility advantage. He's able to coil and save Gargs once in a while, but also he just keeps funneling in these gargoyles all day. And even though he has less gold than his opponent, his exposed mine down to 12,200, and Czech's down below 11,000. So he's mined a full 1,000 more than him, significantly more than 1,000 more than him. maybe like 1400 even, and it just doesn't matter. You know, he's had to make these towers and everything, and it just doesn't matter. So really, he won that first fight just by being able to spell spam, and also just be able to show up with a lot of skeletons. And that's really what it was. He got rid of the berserker really, really fast, and that was a good choice. And then he was just able to summon up a bunch of skeletons and just rip through all the archers from there. I mean, archers are just super not durable. They really just get owned, and that's just all you need. Is, you know, honestly, I think Czech could have probably won this game if you brought 3 wisps with him. I mean, it really would have been that easy to say, oh, you're trying to kill my archers? Oh, that's nice. And that would have been it. Maybe even brought a heal scroll if he had a chance. I mean, somehow. The thing is, you know, with pushes like this, you know, where he's trying to bring Dryads and he's trying to bring in archers and, you know, wisps ideally, you know, this is where trying to expand and tech at the same time actually takes its toll. Because, yes, he's able to produce units. You obviously saw him bring in Dryads, but he couldn't afford heal scrolls. He couldn't really afford to bring in more wisps because he needed the wisps for lumber because he expanded and got lures and you know, all this crap. You know, you might not see it at face value because most people have a good enough build order where they can still get their buildings up. But if you throw a wrench in there, if you make them need heal scrolls, if you make them need wisps, it's going to start biting them. And you know, that's really how you have to play these matchups, where your opponent expands or he's doing something that you know is like planned. Is you just try to throw a wrench in everything, and it really will make a difference in the long run, because, you know, especially inexperienced players, you know, basically people who aren't Moon, it makes a huge difference if your opponent can't effectively counter you. If you know, your opponent can't do his build order like he wanted to, if he can't produce what he wanted to, suddenly, you know, he doesn't know what's going on. And if you know your matchup well, if you know your production side of the matchup, you're going to overwhelm him because he, you know, well, you put him at the disadvantage, but he allowed you to put him there. You know, he didn't play quite default. He tried to expand while teching, and, well, you screwed him over for it. And that's really what it's about, is you catch enough breaks. So, you know, he wasn't able to buy scrolls, and because he had to push, the scrolls would have won him the game, wisps would have won him the game, didn't get either of them, and that really ruined it for him. So you see here the healing scroll usage. As soon as the haze fire drops, you know, the breath of fire goes off. The breath of fire is, I think, 120 or 125 damage, something like that, maybe 130, but I think that's shockwave damage. You know, the burn damage is going off at least 1 tick. At that point, yeah, just go ahead and use your heal scroll. Don't let your Gargs get focused down too quickly, because every Garg that you lose before you heal scroll is a Garg is 150 HP down the drain that you could have saved with a heal scroll. At the same time, any Gargoyle that doesn't get the whole 150 is another 50, 60, 80, 120 HP down the drain. So you've got to really be able to pay attention to your scroll usage. And as undead players, the single most important item in the game for your race is the Scroll of Healing. The top 3, Scroll of Healing, Orb of Corruption, Rod of Necromancy.